The twin sons of Kareth. 9 bled crimson into the iron-laced sky, their dying light glinting off the jagged spires of shattered spacecraft jutting from the planet's cracked crust like the bones of dead gods. This was no graveyard of accident. This was a tomb built by design. A world where gravity pulled too hard, air burned too thin, and hope had long since been smothered beneath centuries of exile and ruin. High above, in the crystalline towers of Zuandar Prime, where rivers of liquid light flowed through streets paved with memory stone, Commander Vera Solon stood motionless before a vast quantum screen. Her skin, the deep violet of twilight nebulae, shimmered faintly with bioluminescent markings, an ancient lineage encoded into flesh. On the display, a doomed vessel, the Eidolon Drift, spiraled into Kareth 9's atmosphere, its hull flaring like a dying star. "Confirm the payload," she said, voice low, devoid of inflection. A subordinate, clad in the silver-gray armor of the Dominion Enclave, bowed slightly. "Impact in 6 minutes, High Sentinel. The decoy convoy has drawn the border watch to the Helix Rim. No witnesses will remain." Vera's silver eyes narrowed. "And the target?" Section Gamma 7. Passenger manifest lists her under false registry, Mira Vex, but biometrics confirm. Princess Narala of the Seventh Veil. Last surviving heir of the Luminar bloodline. A ghost of a smile touched Vera's lips. "Then let the sands of Kareth claim her. No distress call. No survivors. Let the galaxy believe she perished in a tragic malfunction." "As you command," the officer replied, already turning to relay the order. But Vera lingered, staring at the flickering image of the Eidolon Drift. She remembered the girl, once a child with laughter like wind chimes through the palace gardens, before the coup, before the bloodletting in the Hall of Echoes. Before Vera herself had turned her back on honor, on mercy, to serve the regime that now ruled the Trisector Dominion. She had not wanted this. But power demanded sacrifice. And loyalty was always paid in blood. On Kareth 9, the Eidolon Drift tore through the upper atmosphere like a comet gone mad. Inside, chaos reigned. Passengers, refugees, dissidents, and forgotten souls fleeing the Dominion's reach, clung to seats, to walls, to one another as the ship groaned under the strain of uncontrolled descent. Alarms wailed in a language no one understood, their urgency transcending translation. In the rear cabin, Narala gasped as a support beam collapsed, pinning her leg beneath a twisted lattice of durasteel. Her breath came in sharp bursts, her pale teal skin slick with sweat and grime. Her long, obsidian hair, streaked with threads of starlight silver, clung to her face. She tried to call out, but the roar of fire and tearing metal drowned her voice. She wasn't supposed to be here. She had escaped the palace in the dead of the quantum hour, disguised as a servant, carrying only a data shard etched with the truth, the proof that her father hadn't died of illness, but had been silenced by those who wore loyalty like a mask. And now, they had found her. The ship struck the surface with a sound like the planet itself screaming. A shockwave rippled across the wastes, flattening dunes of rust-colored dust. The Eidolon Drift split in two, the front section vanishing into a crater of molten glass, the rear skidding across the plain like a wounded beast before coming to rest, half buried in debris. Silence followed, brief, fragile. Then, flames erupted. Kale Torek felt the impact through the soles of his boots, a tremor that rattled the cracked viewport of his battered freighter, the Iron Maw. He'd come to Kareth 9 for salvage, not heroics. The planet was a junkyard for the galaxy's forgotten ships, weapons, secrets. A place where men like him went to disappear. But the distress signal had been different. Not automated. Not standard. It pulsed in an old dialect, the lament code, used only by royal vessels in final descent. A cry from the dying. He cursed under his breath. He'd sworn off noble causes after Orion's fall, after watching his crew gunned down by the very diplomats they'd sworn to protect. He'd buried his idealism with their bodies in the asteroid fields of Lethe. Yet here he was, suiting up, grabbing his plasma cutter and sidearm, stepping into the furnace wind of Kareth's night. The wreckage loomed ahead, a jagged silhouette against the blood-red sky. Bodies lay scattered, some still, others crawling, broken and dazed. Kale moved past them, scanning, searching. Then he saw her, trapped beneath a fallen beam, her leg crushed, her face streaked with ash and blood, but her eyes alive. Fierce. Not pleading. Demanding. She looked up as he approached, her pupils dilated, but her voice steady when she spoke. You're not one of them. Kale crouched beside her, already assessing the beam. Who's them? The Dominion. They sabotaged the ship. They want me dead. He paused. And who are you? She hesitated, then whispered, I am the truth they buried. Kale didn't ask again. He jammed the plasma cutter beneath the beam, activated it. The metal hissed, glowed, then gave way with a shriek. He pulled her free, slinging her arm over his shoulder. You weigh less than a duffel of spare parts, he grunted. And you smell like engine grease and regret, she shot back. Despite himself, Kale smirked. They hadn't gone 10 meters when the sand ahead exploded. Figures emerged, clad in black exosuits, faces hidden behind mirrored visors, pulse rifles raised. 5 of them. Professional. Silent. The leader stepped forward, voice distorted through a vocoder. Hand over the girl, scavenger. This doesn't concern you. Kale shifted, shielding Narala with his body. Funny. She's breathing. That makes it my concern. The leader raised his weapon. Last warning. Kale didn't hesitate. He fired his sidearm into the sand at their feet, triggering a dust burst, then yanked Narala sideways, sprinting toward the iron maw, half-dragging her as pulse bolts seared the air around them. Can you run? He shouted. Can you fly? She gasped. Better. They reached the ship just as the mercenaries closed in. Kale shoved her up the ramp, slammed the manual override, and dove inside as energy fire scorched the hull. Engines roared. The iron maw lifted, shuddering, its old thrusters protesting, but obeying. Behind them, the mercenaries vanished in a storm of dust and flame. Inside, Narala collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, clutching her injured leg. Blood, deep indigo, almost black, seeped through her torn tunic. Kale glanced at her. You're not human. No, she said, meeting his gaze. I'm what they fear. He pulled a medkit from under the console and tossed it to her. Start patching up. And when you're done, tell me why an entire Dominion strike team is hunting a girl who looks like she hasn't eaten in a week. Narala opened the kit, her fingers moving with practiced precision. Because I carry the Veil gene, she said quietly. The key to the Astral Archive, a repository of knowledge older than the Dominion itself. My blood can unlock it. My uncle wants it. But he doesn't want me. Kale froze. Your uncle? High Chancellor Dareth, she said. The man who murdered my parents. The man who rules the Dominion with an iron fist and a false crown. Kale exhaled slowly. So you're not just a fugitive. You're a revolution. Narala looked at him, her eyes reflecting the dim cockpit lights like twin stars. I'm a spark. But sparks need wind to become fire. Before Kale could respond, the proximity alarm blared. 3 sleek, angular fighters, Viper-class interceptors, had dropped from orbit, locking onto their position. Kale cursed. They've got a tracker. Narala reached into her tunic and pulled out a small, pulsing crystal. Not anymore. She crushed it in her palm. The ship's sensors flickered, then cleared. Kale raised an eyebrow. What was that? A piece of my mother's locket. And a little biotech only royal blood can activate. He stared at her. You're full of surprises. She smiled faintly. And you're not what you pretend to be, Kale Torek. Men who rush into burning wrecks don't do it for salvage. Kale turned back to the controls, his jaw tight. Maybe I just hate bullies. Outside, the void stretched endlessly, stars cold and watchful. But somewhere in the dark, the hunt had only just begun. The iron maw tore through the void, its scarred hull still radiating heat from the violent escape through Kareth 9's atmosphere. Alarms blinked in muted patterns, minor system failures, hull stress warnings, oxygen recyclers groaning under strain. None of it mattered. Not yet. Kale Torek gripped the yoke, knuckles white, eyes locked on the rear sensor feed. 3 blips had vanished near the gravity storm's edge. 1 had shattered into debris. 2 had broken off. But not retreated. They're still out there, he muttered, more to himself than to Narala. She sat upright now, her leg wrapped in a biogel bandage that pulsed faintly with healing nanites. Her breathing had steadied, her pain masked behind a face of porcelain calm. They won't stop. Not until I'm either in a cell or in a casket. Kale glanced at her. And which do you think your uncle prefers? The casket, she said without hesitation. A dead air is inconvenient. A living one with a claim? That's a revolution. He exhaled sharply through his nose. So you're not just a princess. You're a symbol. And you? She replied, turning her starlit eyes on him, are not just a smuggler. Men like you don't dive into infernos for strangers. You have a name. You have a past. I can see it in the way you move, like you're always one step ahead of a shadow. Kale didn't answer. Instead, he pulled up a star chart, fingers dancing over the hollow interface. The nearest safe zone was Orbit Station Theta, 7, a derelict mining hub repurposed into a lawless bazaar for fugitives, mercenaries, and those who traded in secrets. No authority. No records. Just survival. We'll lay low there, he said. Get the maw patched up. You get your leg fixed. Then we figure out what the hell we're doing. Nirala studied the flickering image of the station, a skeletal ring of corroded metal orbiting a dead moon. It's a trap waiting to happen. Everything is, Kale said. But it's the only card we've got. 12 hours later, as the Iron Maw docked at Theta 7's outer rim, the airlock hissed open to a world of shadows and whispers. The station smelled of rust, ozone, and desperation. Flickering neon strips cast jagged patterns across the concourse, where figures in patched envirosuits and combat armor moved like ghosts. Holographic dealers hawked black market cybernetics, forbidden data cores, and weapons with no serial traces. Kale kept his plasma pistol low but ready, his coat pulled tight around him. Nirala walked beside him, limping slightly, her head high. She wore a hooded cloak now, its fabric woven with light-bending threads, courtesy of a quick trade Kale, made with a twitchy data fence named Vex 9. You draw attention, he muttered. Even covered. So do you, she said. You walk like you own the place. Like you're daring someone to challenge you. Maybe I am. They reached a secluded repair bay, where Mira, a grizzled mechanic with a face like cracked leather and eyes enhanced with red optical implants, awaited them. You're late, she growled, wiping grease from her hands. And you brought baggage. She's not cargo, Kale snapped. She's staying. And the maw needs a full refit. Shields, thrusters, stealth plating. Can you do it? Mira snorted. For the right price. And if you've got the parts. Kale tossed a small case onto the workbench. It clicked open, revealing a cluster of quantum capacitors, rare, illegal, and worth a small fortune. Myra's mechanical eyes dilated. Where the hell did you get these? Does it matter? No, she said, snapping the case shut. Be back in 12 hours. And don't get killed before then. While the Iron Maw underwent repairs, Kale led Nirala deeper into the station's underbelly, past brothels run by androids with hollow voices, past gambling dens where men bet their organs in zero-gravity poker games, until they reached a dimly lit chamber known only as the Hollow. Here, information was currency. At the center of the room sat the archivist, a being encased in a life-support sarcophagus, its body long since replaced by neural webbing and liquid-cooled processors. Wires snaked from its skull into the walls, connecting it to 1,000 data streams across the galaxy. You seek truth, the archivist intoned, its voice a chorus of overlapping tones. But truth is not free. Nirala stepped forward. I offer blood. The chamber fell silent. The archivist's eyes, glowing orbs of shifting code, focused on her. Royal blood. Of the seventh veil. Unaltered. Uncontaminated. A long pause. Then, a mechanical arm extended, offering a slender needle. Nirala didn't flinch. She pricked her finger, letting a single drop of indigo blood fall into the collection vial. The archivist inhaled it like a breath. Then, the walls lit up. Holograms erupted. Ancient star maps, encrypted transmissions, surveillance footage from Dominion black sites. And at the center of it all, High Chancellor Dareth, standing over a burning palace, his hands stained with the blood of Nirala's parents. But there was more. Footage of Commander Vera Solon, the woman who had ordered the Eidolon drift destroyed, meeting in secret with a shadowed figure. Coordinates exchanged. A data shard passed between them. And then, a final image. A massive structure buried beneath the ice sheets of Nyx, 13, pulsing with energy. The Astral Archive. The key is not just your blood, the archivist whispered. It is your memory. The archive does not open for data. It opens for experience. For the soul that remembers what was lost. Nirala's breath caught. I don't remember. You were a child when they killed your parents, the archivist said. But your mind was imprinted. A neural backup. Hidden. Waiting. Kale turned to her. So you don't just unlock the archive. You are the archive. Before she could respond, the lights in the hollow flickered. Then died. Emergency red snapped on. A low, pulsing alarm echoed through the corridors. Kale's hand went to his weapon. We've got company. From the shadows, figures emerged, tall, clad in matte black infiltration suits, faces hidden behind featureless masks. Silent blades. Elite Dominion assassins. Trained to kill without sound, without mercy. And they weren't alone. At their center stood a woman, tall, violet-skinned, silver eyes cold as neutron stars. Commander Vera Solon. She stepped forward, her voice calm, almost sorrowful. Narala, you should have stayed dead. Kale moved in front of Narala, drawing his pistol. You're a long way from your tower, Commander. Vera didn't look at him. Her gaze remained locked on the girl. This doesn't have to end in blood. Come with me. The Chancellor wants you alive. For now. And if I refuse? Narala asked, her voice steady. Then I will take you in pieces. Kale smirked. Cute. But I've had better death threats from space slugs. Vera raised a hand. The silent blades fanned out, weapons humming with suppressed energy. Kale glanced at Narala. You got any more of those magic crystals? She reached into her tunic. Empty. Used the last one. Then we do this the loud way. He fired. The shot struck the lead assassin in the chest, but the armor absorbed the blast. The others moved like smoke, blurring forward. Kale grabbed Narala and dove behind a data console as pulse fire shredded the air. Sparks rained down. The archivist's sarcophagus sparked, its voice glitching into static. We can't win this. Narala shouted. We don't have to win, Kale said, dragging her toward a maintenance shaft. Just survive. They vanished into the darkness just as the silent blades closed in. Above them, Vera stood amidst the wreckage, her expression unreadable. A subordinate approached. They escaped, Commander. Shall we deploy trackers? Vera gazed at the spot where Narala had stood. No. Let them run. Let them think they're free. She turned, her cloak swirling. I want them to reach Nix, 13. I want them to open the archive. The subordinate hesitated. But the Chancellor ordered her captured. Vera smiled, cold, knowing. And she will be. But not by his hand. The archive doesn't just hold knowledge. It holds judgment. And when it sees what she carries, it will destroy her. She walked away, her voice fading into the hum of broken machines. This was always the plan. Beneath the station, in a forgotten utility tunnel, Kale and Narala crouched in the dark. You heard that? Narala whispered. Every word, Kale said. She wants you to go to Nix, 13. Because she thinks the archive will kill me. Or worse. Narala looked at him. Then why do I feel like it's the only place I've ever belonged? Kale studied her, really studied her. The fire in her eyes. The weight of a crown she never asked for. The scars of a life stolen. He stood, offering his hand. Then let's go find out what's waiting for you. She took it. And together, they vanished into the labyrinth beneath the station. Two fugitives, one secret, and a galaxy that would burn before it let them be free. The Iron Maw drifted in the silent dark, its hull scarred, and its systems whispering warnings like ghosts in the walls. It had survived the gravity storm, the ambush at Theta, 7, and the silent pursuit that had dogged them across 3 sectors. But now, as it hung in orbit above Nix, 13, a frozen moon veiled in perpetual ice storms, even Kale could feel the weight of what waited below. Narala stood at the viewport, her indigo blood pulsing faintly beneath her skin, her breath fogging the cold glass. The astral archive called to her, not in words, but in memories. Flashes. Dreams. A lullaby sung in a language lost to time. A hand holding hers as flames consumed a palace. A voice, her mother's, whispering, when the key returns, the truth will rise. Kale stepped beside her, arms crossed, jaw tight. You don't have to do this. She turned, her starlit eyes soft. I do. Not because of the throne. Not because of vengeance. But because I remember now. He frowned. Remember what? The night they killed my parents, I wasn't just hidden. I was prepared. My mother, she didn't just pass me royal blood. She implanted something in me. A memory core. A final message. And it's tied to the archive. It's not just a vault of knowledge, Kale. It's a witness. It holds the truth of what happened that night. And it will show it to the galaxy. Kale exhaled, long and slow. And if Vera was right? If it destroys you? Then the truth dies with me, she said simply. And Dareth rules forever. He looked at her, really looked. Not at the princess, not the fugitive, but the girl who had fought beside him. who had saved his life as much as he'd saved hers, who had reminded him that some things were worth fighting for. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, modified pulse grenade, its core replaced with a quantum resonance emitter scavenged from a dead Dominion spy drone. "Then I'm coming with you," he said. "And if the archive tries to kill you, I'll blow it to stardust." Narala smiled. Just a flicker, but it lit her face like dawn. "You're not as cynical as you pretend." "No," he admitted. "Turns out I'm just tired of liars winning." They descended through Nyx 13's ice storms, the moss shuddering as it breached the atmosphere. Below, buried beneath kilometers of glacial ice, the archive waited, a monolithic structure of black alloy, its surface etched with symbols older than civilization. It pulsed with a slow, rhythmic light, like a heartbeat. They landed on a frozen plain, the ship groaning as it settled into the ice. Without hesitation, they suited up and stepped into the blizzard. The entrance was a vertical shaft, hidden beneath a collapsing ice shelf. Narala placed her palm against the ancient lock. Her blood glowed within her veins, and the door, sealed for millennia, opened with a groan of awakening metal. Inside, the air was still, warm, alive. The archive was not a room. It was a world. A vast cavern stretched beneath the ice, filled with floating orbs of light, each containing a memory, a moment, a secret. Holographic constellations spun above them, mapping forgotten histories. At the center stood a dais, empty, waiting. Narala stepped forward. "Initiate identity verification." A voice echoed, neither male nor female, but ancient, vast. She raised her hand. "I am Narala Vathal, heir of the seventh veil, blood of Luminar, daughter of Eliana and Dorian." The dais lit up. A beam of light scanned her, then pulsed red. Threat detected. Bloodline compromised. Security protocol activated. Alarms blared. Panels slid open in the walls. Robotic sentinels, tall, faceless, armed with energy lances, emerged, surrounding her. Kale drew his weapon. "Guess they don't like usurpers." "No," Narala said, calm. "They don't like lies." She stepped forward, directly into the scanner's beam. Override code. Eclipse dawn. Veil's end. Truth unbound. Silence. Then, a laugh. Not from the archive. From the shadows. Vera Solon stepped into the light, flanked by two silent blades. But she didn't raise her weapon. "You were never supposed to open it, Narala," she said. "Not like this." Kale aimed his pistol. "Stay back." Vera ignored him. Her eyes were on Narala. The archive doesn't just reveal truth. It judges. And if the heir is unworthy, it erases them. Dareth knew this. That's why he wanted you dead before you reached it. But I needed you to come, to prove you were strong enough. Narala narrowed her eyes. "You helped me. Back at Theta, 7. You let us escape." "I guided you," Vera corrected. "Dareth thinks I serve him. But I served your mother. And when she died, she left me one command: protect the bloodline. No matter the cost. Even if it means letting you suffer. Even if it means making me the villain." Kale lowered his weapon slightly. "You faked the order to kill her." "I sabotaged the Eidolon drift," Vera admitted. "But I made sure Narala was in a section that could survive. I sent the mercenaries, not to kill her, but to push her toward the truth. Toward this." Narala's voice trembled. "You let me think I was alone." "I made you strong," Vera said gently. "Because only the strong can survive the archive's trial." The dais glowed again. "Final verification required. Memory imprint. Submit to neural integration." Narala looked at Kale. At Vera. Then stepped onto the dais. A beam of light enveloped her. Her body stiffened. Her eyes rolled back. And then, the archive spoke. Not in words. In visions. The chamber filled with holograms, Narala's childhood. Her father's final moments. Dareth, standing over him, whispering, "The bloodline ends with you." Her mother, activating the memory core in Narala's mind, saying, "One day, you will return. And the galaxy will know the truth." And then, Vera, kneeling beside the wreckage of the Eidolon drift, placing a data shard in Narala's pocket. A final gift. The archive pulsed. Air confirmed. Legacy intact. Truth acknowledged. The sentinels deactivated. The red lights turned green. And from the center of the dais, a single orb rose. A recording, encoded with the full testimony of the Luminar dynasty, the coup, the murders, the lies. Narala collapsed into Kale's arms. She was alive. And she was free. Weeks later, the truth spread like wildfire. The broadcast reached every sector, every colony, every ship in the void. Dareth, exposed, tried to flee. But the Dominion turned on him. The military, the people, even his own advisors, they had seen the Archive's judgment. He was captured, and on the steps of the Sapphire Throne, where his brother had died, Dareth was brought to trial. Narala stood before the gathered galaxy, not in armor, but in simple robes, her silver-streaked hair unbound. She did not ask for vengeance. She asked for renewal. And the galaxy answered. The seventh veil was restored. But Narala did not take the throne alone. She stood beside Vera, now General of the Royal Guard, and beside Kale Torek, who refused any title, any medal. "I'm just the guy who flew the ship," he said, smirking. But when the cameras turned away, Narala pressed a small device into his hand, a quantum beacon, keyed to the archive. "If the galaxy ever forgets the truth," she said, "you'll be the one to remind them." He looked at it, then at her. "Still think I'm just a smuggler?" "No," she said softly. "I think you're the reason the light came back." And as the stars burned above Oris Major, reborn in peace, Kale Torek, once a man with nothing, stood beside a queen with everything. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel the need to run. Because some stories don't end. They begin.